is that he's a part of EnableTech, which is a nonprofit organization. And I brought Ed to several of our luncheons because I'm encouraging him to Rotarian because he has a Rotarian heart. He's all about service and giving his time as a volunteer. He's the president of EnableTech. EnableTech helps us get problems solved that are unique. Helps children, he's helped me with different children to figure out how we can get them into the bathtub. We've done a really awesome project with our wonderful friend Miranda. I'll have to bring her here sometime. But she had a very small bathroom, and I had brought several different people to try to figure out how we can get this child. She's not a child now, she's 17 years old. How do we get her into the bathroom? How can she do this herself? She's in a standing wheelchair. She's has a brilliant mind, but her body is not always cooperative, and she lives in a very old home in Hopkins. And so her mother, her single mom, was carrying her. But we figured out a great way of doing a barn slide door. We figured it out, and Ed is just always open to wonderful ideas. And please give him a great hand. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathleen, for that nice introduction. I should really have you give this presentation. And thank you to the Rotary Club for inviting me here this afternoon. There's about a 3 or 4 month waiting list to get to this podium. I don't know if you know that, but that's a testament to how popular this club is. I think a testament to all the good work that this club is doing in the community. And just hearing the speakers and this brief presentations and the service awards is a very impressive list of things that you're doing for this community, and I applaud you. Who is EnableTech? That's the name of our group. We were organized as a nonprofit in July in South Carolina. Actually, our founder, Phil Atkinson, spent 15 years prior to that in Baltimore establishing a similar group. So we have about 30 years of total capability in doing the kind of work we do for people with disabilities. And Phil had a 42-year career with Westinghouse Electric. I had a 40-year career with Westinghouse Electric, so we bring a lot of engineering talent. But it's largely to Phil that we've enjoyed the success that we've had. He's 83 years old and still doing projects for us. We've have done about 180 projects since that 2000 period and have involved over 60 volunteers over our lifespan. We have about maybe 6 to 8 active engineers right now, but we do maybe 12 to 18 projects a year. Our mission is to provide independence to disabled and elderly people by unique technical solutions that enhance their medical health and quality of life. And our vision is to be a sought-after supplier of assistive technology for people with disabilities and the elderly for whom traditional methods of medical services are not sufficient. And we provide these services free of charge to the person with a disability or the elderly person. We have sources of funding, as I'll explain later in the presentation, to help us do our work. Our scope is to provide solutions that are not commercially available. And for example, we designed and fabricated a wheelchair-friendly and accessible crib that isn't commercially available in the market. And to do that probably took us for 100 hours of engineering time, or more. It added up to about $40,000 worth of engineering cost had we paid the engineer to do this work. And of course, he volunteered that time, and that's the reason we're able to do projects that aren't commercially feasible for a for-profit entity to take on. It just would be cost prohibitive because we're doing one-of-a-kind, unique solutions for our clients. Right now, we're serving clients within a 50-mile radius of Columbia, where I live, and Saluda, where Phil lives, with a vision to expand our services to the entire state if things work out that way. So why EnableTech? Well, I explained a little bit about that just earlier, that we fill a niche that would be otherwise forgotten because it isn't feasible for commercial entities due to the high cost of developing this equipment, and there really isn't enough market for them to get interested. It's one-of-a-kind kind of stuff that we do. And government agencies have their own restrictions. They have funding guidelines and typically aren't for unique solutions for one type of person. And they normally fund established or more traditional or proven work, and frankly for large organizations that we are as well. We offer this unique and valuable service free to our client, as I mentioned, and we apply a structured process using a broad range of coordinated technical and medical resources, which I'm going to explain on our next slide. It's a multidisciplinary client service team. We involve doctors and nurses and physical therapists that have been working with the patient, and we visit them with the engineering team to understand the environment they're living in, the kind of needs that they have, and work out a good solution for them. We can't just take the request verbatim because some people don't understand exactly what their needs are. And this team approach helps us to understand more what that person's needs are. For example, we had a request for a young lady who's about 8 years old. They just wanted her to be able to sit at the dining room table. She couldn't use her legs. And it turned out she couldn't get out of bed, that she couldn't get to the bathroom, she couldn't travel around the house, and we developed a solution that was much more broad than just a chair that raised and lowered. It was actually a chair that was movable throughout the home and also raised and lowered, and it could recline and move up to help her out. We do review each project at a project review committee meeting to make sure it's the right one for us, and then we have a list of ongoing project status and make sure they're on track and they're within what we've budgeted for their cost. And of course, we don't close them out until we've thoroughly trained the client and ensured that all aspects of the new equipment are understood and an appropriate waiver signed. Currently, we have offices in locations in Saluda, South Carolina, which is where Phil lives. He's got a 12,000 square foot shop that he built adjacent to his home. It's very well equipped. In fact, he brought a lot of the equipment down from the Westinghouse Defense and Electronics Center. When he retired, they closed down one of the sections of the plant, and they basically, at very minimal cost, if it was just for transportation down, he got a whole shop outfitted for himself. And then in Aiken, we have another 12,000 square foot shop that's very well equipped as well. CNC machines, lathes, drill presses, planers, welding equipment, all sorts of hand tools and fixtures. And we help the Vocational Rehabilitation Center. We have a cooperative relationship with them. If they have some projects that they need help with, we'll provide volunteers to help them out. In return, they let us use the shop space. And then in Chapin, our vice president and engineering manager has access to an 8,000 square foot shop near his home. So we've got a lot of manufacturing and fabrication capability. We have partnerships and referral relationships with government and philanthropic and educational institutions. They're listed there, so I won't go down through them all, but there's a pretty extensive list of folks. We really don't have a problem obtaining clients. You can imagine a free service. There's a lot of clients that are interested in participating. And so they come to us via referrals from satisfied customers and by way of government agencies. And of course, we do need money to make happen what we do. And we receive corporate grants. We apply and make application to corporations for grant money from them, as well as government agencies. Haven't been real successful. There's certainly no federal money because they're funding much larger organizations than we are. Individual donations are a significant source of income, and from clients, even though they may not be able to afford much, they so appreciate what we've done for them that they may give us a donation as well after we provide them the service. I want to run through now a few sample projects of what we do to give you a feel for what we've done. Eric is a 12-year-old boy with cerebral palsy and seizure disorder, and he's nonverbal, doesn't really have the use of his hands or legs, and his mom has to lift him into the van. You can imagine as he gets older, that's very cumbersome to lean over and twist and get the child into the van. So on the left-hand side, what we designed was we mounted his child's seat on a platform that can extend out and rotate. On the left side is the rotated car seat. It's not real visible there, but it sticks out from the car so she can place him in the seat very conveniently, and then she twists and rotates him and inserts him in, which you see on the right-hand side. We designed the seat to use the current frame and structure and seat belt arrangement of the original car. So that ensures that the safety features that are built into that kind of a system are still intact. Here's an ATV for Maya, who was born with several diseases that makes it difficult for her to swallow, and she just has limited use of her hands and feet. And her parents wanted her to be able to walk the trails with them as they go hiking, so they bought this ATV and then realized she was a little bit unstable on it. And by the way, this thing has a governor on it that makes it only go to about 4 or 5 miles an hour. She's not flashing over the city with this thing. But this is a work in progress. I don't know if you can make out the little frame on the left-hand side there is what we've started out. Now we'll have a cushion put over it, an armrest put on it, and then she also needed a way to stop the thing. She doesn't have the strength to pull the handbrake, so we've designed a foot pedal for her as well to be able to stop the vehicle. This is more representative of the kind of projects we do that are a lot more simple in nature. This was another Cub Scout, or I guess be a Cub Scout, who wanted to go with his troop on hikes and camping. He just wasn't able to negotiate the trails on his own, so we designed this little sulky that you can either push or pull with him sitting there, and allows him to go on these field trips with his troop. The wheelchair-friendly crib I mentioned before, believe it or not, there's no commercially available wheelchair-accessible crib. So we had to design it from the ground up. It's higher so that the wheelchair fits underneath it. It has sliding versus the drop-down doors. In fact, I guess the drop-down doors aren't even used anymore. They've been found to be unsafe, and you have to reach over and put the child in. So this has sliding doors out to allow the mother to put her child in the crib. It's double lockable, so it's safe when the gate is closed. And of course, it's built with strong maple to resist child's shaking and being unstable. And it's actually convertible later on to a youth bed. So, as I mentioned, the suppliers up to date have not been interested. We did find one local man who is interested in building them, and maybe our first spin-off product to have him build them and sell them on his own if he can for profit. And if we have identified needs, we can buy it from him at cost. So that'll be a nice win-win arrangement. Travis is, at the time we took this picture, was 5 years old. He's 13 now. We've worked with him throughout his career. He was born without arms. And the school called Phil in a panic and said, how in the world are we going to be able to work with this child at school? So we designed and of course researched his needs by visiting the school and talking to the teachers and finding out where he would be going and what he'd have to be doing. And we designed this workstation for him, which is battery operated and can go up and down to be at the right height for whatever classroom he's in. It has multiple work surfaces for his feet. This child can draw with his feet, he can write with his feet, he can do computer keyboarding with his feet, so he's very talented that way. It does have a key for safety, so not anybody can drive this thing around. It's portable, so it goes from classroom to classroom, and it has an integrated keyboard and mouse as part of the device. So he used it a lot. As I mentioned, he's 13 now. He's been actually a work in progress for us over the years. We've designed, in cooperation with some senior mechanical engineering students at the University of Pittsburgh, a clothing system for him. He can now actually independently clothe himself with a fairly simple device. It's a stick that he works with his feet to work his t-shirt on, a stick with a hook on it, and a device that hangs over the doorknob that has protruding little stick type things that he can anchor to and pull his pants up incrementally. So it's working for him. It was a real problem before at school. Now he can take this device with him and use it to clothe himself. And we're now working on a system using a rotating brush from a car wash to bathe him. It will attach to the wall of a shower. We'll have it so we go up and down and rotate and wash him. He does have amazing utility with his feet. He can beat me at Xbox anytime I visit. It's amazing. And he actually has been an illustrator for published books. He's that good with his artwork. So he's an amazing, amazing young man. Sandy is a high quad spinal cord injured woman, and she herds sheep and trains sheepdogs. And she used to do it on a wheelchair, and you can imagine in rough terrain, the wheelchair has a higher center of gravity. It's prone to tipping, and there's not more than once she actually tipped the thing over. So we took a Toro lawnmower frame and converted it to a battery-powered device with a hydraulic steering mechanism that she could use to train her dogs. We've actually built, since this photo was taken, a second unit with the University of South Carolina, which is all electric. It has a joystick control, and it's much quieter. The hydraulic controls are kind of noisy and not as good as we would like. So we now have an all-electric, and it has longer battery life. And she's actually been to national competitions with this newer unit and has even won some awards with it. So we're quite pleased about how that's all turned out. So how can you help? You know I wouldn't get away without asking you for some help. And so you can do several things. One is donate. We take MasterCard or any type, or checks or whatever method you want to do. You can go straight to our website. It's listed there at www.EnableTech.org. And we'd love to have you help fund us. If there are any of you out there that like to tinker and have some engineering background, maybe you could volunteer with us too. We'd love to have you volunteer. You can do that again online at our website. You can fill out a skills assessment sheet, and then we get in touch with you and get you assigned to a project. Or perhaps you can identify some clients who may benefit from our services. You can email me. There's the email address. I do have some brochures. For those who are interested, I didn't bring a brochure for everyone, but I do have a stack of brochures here. Or our website is has obviously the way to contact me as well. But it's ed@enabletech.org. And perhaps you know of other potential donors or volunteers too that would benefit from our service. So in summary, we feel that we fit a niche that would otherwise go untended, and we exist to enhance the quality of life for people, and have several examples, as you've seen, of doing that. And it's a tremendous reward for me, and we don't need to get paid in cash because we're paid in the smile and appreciation of the person that we helped. It's just really, it's personally rewarding to me to see that. And as I mentioned, we work closely with the client and healthcare professionals to ensure a safe and satisfactory final product. And we do rely on volunteers and donations to be successful. That's the presentation. Are there any questions that I could answer? We have a few minutes, I think. Yeah.
You know, you mentioned that your funding was coming, some of it from the government. Is that on a case-by-case basis, or did they give you away?
Yeah, that's what we've tried to get them to fund a capacity improvement. They have a category for that, which funds staffing. We just have not been successful. Our success is typically when we have a specific project with a specific scope or a specific client. They like to fund those projects. I wish we could find something that would help fund staffing. They just don't like to do that.
Given the bureaucratic nature of that, I mean, the time you apply for it to the time you get it, I mean, is that months or years?
That can be a factor. You know, sometimes we'll go forward in the hope that they will fund it kind of after the fact. I mean, we just bite the bullet and move ahead and get, either get it or else we tap into our other funds to fund it. So timing clearly is an issue because it takes quite a gestation time for them to evaluate it. And a lot of them have specific dates and times of the year when they'll fund projects, and you kind of time it. You look at what grants are coming up in October, and then you target those people for that month.
Okay.
Over here, yeah.
So are you holding the patents on these projects when you create them?
That's a good question. We are debating patenting that all-terrain wheelchair. That has a lot of capability, and the problem, of course, is you've got to pay a patent attorney and go through a lengthy ordeal. So it's something that's on our plate, but we have not yet done. Yeah.
Are there any technologies you've developed other than that amazing look like crib thing? Because for me, like, I've never thought about the fact that a mother may be disabled and attempting to take care of a child. Are there any other technologies you all have developed that you thought this might be a mass market type of?
Well, other than that, I think the two key ones were the all-terrain wheelchair that I showed, the vehicle that Sandy uses, and the crib are the two main ones. The other ones, a lot of our work is just very simple stuff. What we did for Kathleen, for Miranda, was just a fold-down bench that she could slide across to get to her top. And so a lot of it isn't rocket science. I showed you some of the more jazzy ones here, but I mean, Dylan Sulky is a real good example of a good deal of the work that we do.